Hello everyone, and in today's video I'm going to be going over 10 great dividend stocks to buy, and some people may even consider some of these the 10 best dividend stocks there are. Now keep in mind, when I made this video, I did it to come up with a diverse set of dividend stocks, so all of these stocks are not going to be in the same industry, and I did it so they don't concentrate on a particular thing. So these stocks will include dividend growth and dividend yield. And then I'll also go over a hypothetical performance of these stocks and give a brief overview of each stock there is. So if you do enjoy content like this, please consider liking the video and subscribing for future content. And many of these stocks, like Broadcom Inc., which is the first stock, is included in many of the popular dividend ETFs there are. So whether it be SCHD or VIG, you're going to see these stocks in many of these popular dividend ETFs because of their performance and because they're good picks overall. And these aren't in any particular order, so just because, for example, Broadcom is first on the list doesn't mean I think it's the number one dividend stock. And again, this isn't a list to pick necessarily the best of the best. This is to give you a broad overview of dividend stocks in different sectors and dividend stocks that have good yield and good dividend growth as well. So we have Broadcom being the first stock, or AVGO is the ticker symbol. It currently has a yield of 1.9%. So when it comes to the dividend, this definitely falls into the dividend growth category rather than the dividend yield category. Over the past several years, it has been growing its dividend at an incredible rate. So if you look here at the annual payout growth year over year, you see that this dividend grows quite consistently. And of course, it has been going down in recent years, but overall, it still is growing at over 10%. So to give you a brief overview of the stock, this is from the Wikipedia page. This is pretty much great for a high-level description of any company there is. Broadcom Inc. is an American multinational designer, developer, manufacturer, and global supplier of a wide range of semiconductor and infrastructure software products. Broadcom's product offerings serve the data center, networking, software, broadband, wireless storage, and industrial markets. So as you can imagine, this is a tech stock for sure. And as you could also imagine, this definitely was a great performing stock, especially with the AI explosion that recently happened. It's up 90% over the past year. Who knows if that's going to continue? Again, this isn't necessarily the best dividend stocks for future growth. This is some of the best dividend stocks that there are, whether that be historically or possibly in the future. But again, great performing stock. It is in the tech sector. It does have a 1.9% yield, and it does have a great growing dividend. Next on the list is going to be Johnson & Johnson, ticker symbol J&J. So this stock currently has a 2.93% dividend yield, so it is a little bit higher than the last stock, Broadcom, but it is not so high yield that it is really considered a high yield stock. It is more a moderate yield stock. And as far as the dividend goes, it does offer a great consistent dividend growth. It consistently averages over 5%. This probably isn't considered a high dividend growth company, but it does offer a great consistent growing dividend over time. And of course, as you go back, it grew more and more because the dividend was new, but it has come down to about 5% or so, sometimes more, year over year, which offers great consistent growth that you can almost plan for in a way. And Johnson & Johnson is a pharmaceutical company. It is a company that specializes in pharmaceuticals and medical technologies, and it operates multinationally. And now we have Pepsico Inc., or PEP is the ticker symbol. This is commonly known as Pepsi. It does offer a moderate yield now. We are getting around a 3%, a 3.03%. And even though Pepsi offers a bit higher of a dividend yield currently, it does have a pretty consistent dividend growth rate, and it is currently growing at about 8% or so consistently year over year. So it is good for yield and dividend growth. And a brief overview of Pepsi. It's an American multinational food, snack, and beverage company. It operates in all aspects of food and the beverage market, and it oversees the manufacturing, distribution, and marketing of its products. Next on the list is the largest financial company in the United States, I'd say. That is JPMorgan Chase Co, ticker symbol JPM. It currently has a 2.5% yield, which is kind of low for a financial company. Usually you see a lot of financial companies in the 3 range, but that's neither here nor there. It is a moderate yield, which is a good thing. Not much going on too much with dividend growth here, though. It does have some very good years. Sometimes it does have some very bad years. You can't really track whether this dividend growth is going to be good or bad. It varies from year to year, probably based more so on the economic cycle. So the company is an American multinational financial services firm, and it is the largest bank in the United States and the world's largest bank by market capitalization as of 2023. Next up, Visa, and this one is quite low on yield. The yield isn't even above 1%, so it is a very low yielding stock here, but it does offer great growth all around, whether that be in capital appreciation or in dividend growth, which we are about to view next. So as I said, does offer great dividend growth. It has been averaging quite a bit above 10% for most of the years you see here, and many of it goes above 15% year over year. So the company is basically a payment intermediary. It facilitates electronic funds transfers throughout the world, and it works through the VisaNet, and it works on Visa branded credit cards, debit cards, and prepaid cards. The Wikipedia article says it is one of the most valuable companies in the world. It is a very important company to our financial network and our financial industry overall. Next, we have Costco Wholesale Corporation, ticker symbol COST or COST. And this yield, again, similar to Visa, is not even above 1%. So it's not a dividend yield stock, but what it makes up for is in dividend growth. This stock was quite loved by investor Charlie Munger there for a while, and he continued to love it. He always praised this company. It is a all-around great company. Going into the dividends, it does offer a pretty good yield growth or dividend growth, like I said. The thing is, a lot of the way this company works is that it does special dividends. So you're going to see really high dividends here and there, like you'll see the payout amount increase greatly here and there. That's because this company loves to do special dividends when it has a good amount of cash on hand and they don't have any better use for the cash. So Costco is a multinational corporation which operates a chain of membership-only big box warehouse retail stores. So basically, if you've ever been to a Walmart, it's like that, but membership only, and you basically buy products in bulk. It is a great company, and they do really good things for their customers when it comes to savings when they buy in bulk. So next on the list is the very popular real estate company among dividend investors, Realty Income Corporation, ticker symbol O. It does have a moniker, the monthly dividend company. So the entire company's goal is to basically pay out dividends, and it is a company that has consistently grown its dividend for 25 years in a row. This is a company with quite a bit of higher yield. It does have a yield above 5%, and that is basically because it's a REIT and they have to pay out most of their earnings or income as dividends. Now with this company, it's really not so much a dividend growth company. Again, because it is dedicated to growing its dividend, it does have a history of consistently raising them. It has been averaging a bit more over the past year, but you are not going to see huge 7, 8, 9% jumps, generally speaking. Of course, in 2022, you did see a nice boost there, but you're going to see dividend increases into 2 to 3% range year over year. Realty Income Corp is a real estate investment trust or REIT that invests in freestanding single-tenant commercial properties in the United States, Spain, United Kingdom, and Ireland. So this company operates in multiple countries too, and it again is a REIT. So if you want some diversification outside of a typical S&P 500 or tech-centric S&P 500 weighted portfolio, Realty Income might be a good choice for you. And this company also does pay monthly, so it is great for people that are looking for that monthly dividend paycheck. Next up, you have Exxon Mobile Corporation. Exxon Mobile Corporation, ticker symbol XOM. It does have a bit of a higher yield, around 3.8%. And as far as dividend growth goes on this company, the growth is on and off, but it does generally grow its dividend year over year, which is kind of what you want to see with a dividend company, of course, too. So it does average anywhere between 1 to 5% generally. Sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down. It's more so of a dividend yield company than it is a dividend growth company. And everybody in the United States probably knows this company because its gas stations are pretty much everywhere. It is an American multinational oil and gas corporation and is the largest direct descendant of J.D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil. Next on the list, we have McDonald's Corporation. So again, this is an extremely well-known company. The ticker symbol is MCD. It does offer a yield of 2.28%. McDonald's is going to fall into the category more so of dividend growth. It consistently raises its dividend at least 4%. And this has been pretty consistent over the past decade. It does have years where that dividend does grow over 10%, which is really in the realm of a dividend growth company. So again, McDonald's is pretty much everywhere. Everybody knows that it operates as a fast food chain and it is a multinational company. You're going to see its restaurants in pretty much every single country on earth. Of course, maybe there aren't so many countries that are enemies of the United States that have McDonald's, but I'm sure that there are countries that aren't so friendly with the United States and a McDonald's will still be there. And finally on this list, I included Waste Management, a ticker symbol WM. This is a great consistent company. Trash will basically never go out of business. It does offer a somewhat low dividend yield, but what it lacks in yield, it makes up for in dividend growth. And the company does offer, of course, pretty good dividend growth. There are some years where that growth decreased, but generally it does increase at a pretty decent pace year over year, and it is pretty consistent with its growth. Of course, you're going to see some years where that dividend growth goes down, but overall it is more so of a dividend growth company rather than a dividend yield company. So Waste Management is a waste management, comprehensive waste and environmental service company, and it pretty much, as the overview there suggests, operates in the waste category there, and it offers many different kind of waste services. Some of you, depending on the states you live in, probably have seen their trucks drive around here and there on the highways, or maybe they even pick up your garbage. So here are all of those companies out on a list. So just going to quickly recap. I have Broadcom, Johnson & Johnson, Pepsi, JPMorgan Chase, Visa, Costco, Realty Income Corp, Exxon Mobile, McDonald's, and Waste Management. And again, I picked these companies to have a very good diverse by industry selection. And I also picked these companies based on kind of their overall qualities and whether they were included or not on some popular dividend ETFs that screened on quality. I think all of these stocks in their own right are very popular in pretty much every single dividend ETF, some more than others, but overall I think everybody can appreciate the qualities of these stocks. So pretty much now what I'm doing here is I am doing a back test of these stocks, and I am equally weighting them at 10% each. So each company, again there's 10, has a weighting of 10% in this hypothetical portfolio. So I'm going to do a back test on these companies and compare them to a few popular dividend ETFs and pretty much show you how they stack up. And again, I just want to have you be mindful that past performance doesn't necessarily equate to future success, but I want to show you how these companies performed if you were to hold them over the past 10 years, and if they will still be quality in the future, I don't know. I personally don't think any of these companies, especially not all 10 of them, will go anywhere anytime soon. Of course, because they're so large and they have a controlling grasp on their respective industry in one way or another. So this back test is going to go back to September of 2009, and that is because it is limited by the listing of Broadcom, which was listed in 2009. There was no data available before September of 2009 for that company, so it had to stop there. And again, 10% in this pie for each portfolio, each holding rather, and also the ticker symbol, the ETF, the dividend ETF that I compared it against is the Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF. It basically tracks high dividend yield companies. So this portfolio here is not necessarily going to be a high dividend yield portfolio, again, because I mixed in both dividend growth and dividend yield. Some have a lower yield and some have higher yield. But I think the first metric is that high dividend yield ETF to compare this against. And you will see with this back test that this portfolio really outperformed the Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF by an incredible amount. And again, this portfolio here, these 10 holdings, might not be the best for you if you are all about dividend income. Like if you need a high income now, this probably isn't your best way to go about it. You should probably be looking for a list of high dividend yielding stocks. But again, because I wanted to diversify it by industry, yield, and growth, I basically mixed all of these stocks together and I got this listing here, and it completely outperformed the Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF by more than twice over that period of time. So next up on the list, I wanted to stack this hypothetical portfolio against a dividend growth ETF. This is the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF. This is an ETF I hold. It is a pretty good dividend ETF in my opinion if you're looking for dividend growth. So I compared it against this ETF as well, and you'll see it completely blew the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF away as well. So even if you're looking for dividend growth, if you're looking at these 10 stocks, this diverse set of 10 stocks, you're going to see a great outperformance with these 10. And you're going to see that overall, it's really not that volatile. I think, of course, because there's only 10 holdings, it is a little bit more volatile than the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF, but it's really not all that volatile, and it did outperform that ETF by a wide margin. If you look at the worst year too, this had a positive worst year, and the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF had a negative worst year. So this has better best years and greater worst years. So again, these 10 holdings here outperform even this ETF as well. So the next comparison here, this is going to go back not quite as far, only till 2011, and this is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. This is pretty much the golden ETF among dividend investors, and it also outperformed this ETF by a wide margin. And keep in mind, this ETF, SCHD, is specifically designed to pick some of the best dividend stocks, and it outperformed it by quite a wide margin over that time also. And finally, I wanted to get away from strictly dividend ETFs and compare these 10 dividend holdings to the overall market. So to do that, I just used the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. It's an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 to see how it would perform, and you see still complete outperformance there with these 10 holdings. So these 10 holdings are so good that if you were to hold them, they completely outperformed the S&P 500 even by a wide margin. Very, very respectable top 10 here. And again, I don't want to have you think that this is going to be absolute, that this is going to be the way it is going forward. But I think that these 10 dividend stocks, if we look back in time, maybe not so much forward in time, but if we look back in time, I think we can all agree that these are some great performing dividend stocks, and I think that we can also all agree that this portfolio here that I put together, if we're only looking at 10 dividend stocks, which is of course pretty much what everybody searches on YouTube, is like what are the top 10 dividend stocks. I think that I put together a very good, broad, diverse by industry list of stocks that cover pretty much every industry, and I also basically combined some dividend yield stocks with dividend growth stocks to make a wonderful performing list of stocks here that who knows if this is going to continue to perform in the future as well as it did, but at least historically these stocks did perform very well. And again, I didn't like look back and say, okay, how can I make the perfect list of stocks? Basically what I did was I pretty much looked in ETFs, I read some literature, and pretty much found out that overall people generally invest in these dividend stocks, at least individually, whether they be for yield or for growth. So I do hope that I was able to provide you with a list of 10 stocks that you do think are pretty good picks overall. I know plenty of dividend investment YouTubers do videos like this and say their top 10. Maybe some of these companies were included in there. I didn't really watch any of their videos because I didn't want to basically regurgitate everything everybody else says. I kind of wanted to pick my own list, but I guess based on their popularity, some are probably the same there. Again, if you do enjoy content like this, please consider liking the video and subscribing for future content. I would greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in the next video.